Hey, it's Chris Lopez from Kettlebell and I'm going to show you 5 ab exercises that you're probably not doing, but I think that you should incorporate into your routine. The first exercise is a reverse curl. Now this is mainly for, a lot of people think that this is mainly for your lower abs, which in my opinion really don't exist. It works mainly your obliques and it'll work your rectus abdominis as well. Remember, your abdominals attach from the base of your ribcage right into your pelvis. So there really is no separation between your upper and lower abs, but you'll get a lot of oblique work. What you'll need is a relatively light kettlebell, depending on how strong your abs are. I've got a 16 and an 8K over here. We'll start off with the 16. And if you remember this from the Friday finisher from last week, you'll be using either a medicine ball or a really light ball, like a basketball even. All you want to do is you want to make sure that your medicine ball or your ball is tucked in between your heels and your butt. What that does is that occupies your hamstrings, forces the antagonist muscle to the hamstrings, which would be your hip flexors, to relax, therefore allowing your, I'm going to say it anyway, your lower abs and your obliques to really work on getting your knees right up to your elbows. So watch your head. You're going to use the kettlebell up top for leverage, and the lighter you go, so the less leverage you use, the harder it'll be for your abs to work. So elbows nice and high, bracing the abs, toes up in the air, and you're going to make sure that you've got a flat back, pushing that lower back into the ground, and curling up, and then right back down. Now the whole idea behind this exercise is to make sure that the kettlebell over top of you isn't lifting off the ground. If you find that it is coming off the ground a little bit, then ideally you should go to a heavier weight, something that'll offset a little bit more, and that'll keep you anchored to the ground. So that's the lower ab curl. The other exercise that I wanted to show you was what's called a Pushaway Squad. So I'll take my light kettlebell and I'm going to hold it in a goblet position here. And what you want to think about when you're doing this is front squatting, but at the same time driving the bell away and keeping your back as straight as you possibly can. So you get a lot of front delt or shoulder work in addition to a lot of ab work because you're really forced to stay nice and high in your spine. So for the push-away squat, I'm in that front squat position, and then as I squat down, I'm going to push that bell away. Now, so as you're doing that, you're taking your center of gravity and you're pushing it forward a little bit. Your body's going to want to collapse somewhat. You're going to feel that, and your abs are really going to start to fire and start to brace nice and tight, really trying to keep your spine straight. So that's a push-away squat. Another exercise I wanted to show you is similar to a Renegade Row, but if you don't have 2 kettlebells, then what you can do is use a platform, or you can take a couple of thick books and put them on the floor if you're training at home, and it works your upper back in addition to the obliques. So like a Renegade Row, if you're thinking about that, you're on 2 kettlebells and you're rowing up and down. What you're trying to do with this exercise here is prevent any rotation in your hips. So that means that you've got to squeeze your glutes nice and tight, your abs have to be braced, and you're trying to resist any rotation going on in your torso when you're rowing this weight up. Now, a couple of teaching points here. Number 1, the further away your feet are, so the wider your feet are in the stance in this exercise, the easier it'll be. So if you really want to challenge yourself, come into a more narrow stance. So I'm going to have one hand on the platform here. The other hand is going to be on my kettlebell. I'm going to brace my abs nice and tight, squeeze my glutes, and I'm going to row and put it back down. What I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm not rotating through. So notice, if I let my glutes go and I let my abs go and I just try to row it, watch what happens. So you can see I'm twisting. So what I'm going to have to do is really brace nice and hard, tight, squeeze my glutes, and resist any type of rotation that goes on with that exercise. Okay, so that's a modified Renegade Row if you only have 1 kettlebell. The other exercise, which is maybe a level 1 to this exercise here, is something that I learned from Dr. Stu McGill, who's probably the foremost lower back researcher in the world right now, which is an opposite hip touch. Now, you'll remember this from Finisher Friday last week as well. All we're doing, same thing with the Renegade Row, is making sure that we're not rotating or twisting through the movement. So I'm bracing my abs nice and tight. I've got my shoulders over top of my elbows, which are over top of my wrists, squeezing my glutes, and I'm just going to take one hand and reach over and touch the opposite side, and then come back, and then the other hand, and then come back. So you're trying to resist any type of twisting going on. And after about 30 reps of these, you'll really start to feel your abs and your obliques kicking in. So that's the opposite hip touch. And then the last exercise I wanted to show you is a great mobility exercise for your groin muscles and your hip muscles, in addition to a great ab exercise as well. And that's just a regular Spider-Man climb. I'll let you know on the finer points of how to do this while we're going through it. You're going to get yourself into a push-up position and with your toes together. And what you want to do is you want to take one leg and stride it all the way forward as far as you can. Now after you're doing that, so I've got my left leg forward, what I want to do is I really want to try to keep my hips low and I want to squeeze my right glute. And by doing that, the hips are going to stay down, I'm bracing my abs nice and tight, and then from here I'm going to bring my leg back under control without moving my torso or my hips. So I got my right leg forward now, squeezing my left glute. So I really like that exercise because number one, I'll get a lot of stability in my abdominals. Two, I'll get a lot of work in my glute by keeping my hip low and making sure that I'm squeezing my glutes. And then three, I'm getting a lot of mobility in my hips and in my groin muscles as I'm bringing that leg forward. So those are 5 unconventional ab exercises that you may not be doing right now, but I really think you should add to your routine. I'm Chris Lopez from KettlebellWorkouts.com, and that's 5 of my favorite bodyweight and kettlebell ab exercises.